The road to my Lake Tahoe cabin used to unwind every knot inside me. Even this time, after a year of staying away, the orange flare of autumn trees and the smooth curve of the Sierra roads almost lulled me into thinking everything was normal. Almost. Dorothy and I bought that cabin 15 years ago, when life still felt warm and predictable. She loved the crisp air, the way the lake shimmered like a mirror at sunrise. I can still hear her humming beside me on long drives, sometimes softly laughing at nothing, just happy to exist. Aw, thinking of her voice still sends a sting behind my eyes. Now it was just me, the engine humming, and the heavy silence she left behind. My daughter Lauren and I hadn't had a real conversation in months. 8 months to be exact, and yes, I counted. Her voice used to race with excitement when she called. Now it sounded like someone reading lines off a script. I pulled into the familiar gravel driveway expecting overgrown weeds, dust, stillness. But instead, the lawn looked freshly cut. The edges were trimmed sharp like a professional landscaper had just left 10 minutes before I arrived. That didn't make me smile. It made my stomach twist. I'd canceled the landscaping service half a year ago. I stepped out of the car and took a slow breath. Something in the air felt off. Not wrong in a dramatic way, just wrong in that quiet, crawling way that makes the back of your neck go warm. Flooring. When my key slid into the door, it turned too easily, almost eager. That door usually groaned awake after months of disuse, but this time it welcomed me like someone had oiled the hinges yesterday. I braced for the cold, stale smell of a sealed house. Instead, the air felt fresh. A soft scent of lemon cleaner lingered as if someone had just wiped things down. The tables weren't dusty. The floors didn't creak in protest like they usually did after a long absence. Ha! I let out a nervous laugh. This place shouldn't feel alive. Then I noticed it. The wallpaper in the living room. At first glance, it looked exactly like Dorothy's floral pattern, the one she agonized over for a whole week, insisting the roses needed the perfect shade of faded pink. But when I walked closer, my breath caught. The colors were brighter, sharper, more vibrant than they'd ever been. Someone had replaced the entire wallpaper. My fingers trembled as they brushed the surface. Perfectly smooth, recently installed. Not a single bubble. Dorothy would have fussed at me for touching it, whispering, "You'll wrinkle the roses, Jimmy." That memory made my throat tighten. My mind tried to make sense of it. Lauren, Nathan. But why would they secretly renovate my cabin? My heart thudded with the same heavy rhythm I hadn't felt since Vietnam. That gut-level warning your body screams before your brain understands why. The quiet in the house felt too still, too intentional. Like someone had paused a moment in the air and walked away seconds before I arrived. Line back answers fast. Then it hit me. The cameras. 3 years before she died, Dorothy insisted on installing hidden security cameras after a couple of teenagers broke in. I teased her for being paranoid and she just smiled, saying, "People behave differently when they think no one's watching." Ha ha ha. She always had that sharp edge of cleverness I admired. Now I was grateful. I sat down, unlocked the app, and began scrolling through the footage. The feed loaded slowly, the spinning icon taunting my nerves. When the video finally clicked in, my whole chest went hollow. Vandalism. Wasn't teenagers. Wasn't maintenance. It was my daughter, frantic, pale, heartbroken, carrying a secret so dark it made the hairs on my arms rise. And she wasn't alone. My thumb hovered over the screen as the footage loaded, my breath hitching in my throat. The living room flickered into view. Sunlight drifted lazily across the empty floor. Nothing moved, nothing breathed. Just that quiet, peaceful cabin I used to know. Hours of stillness passed on the screen. Then, at 6:47 p.m. on August 15th, Teton, the front door opened. I actually whispered, "Oh God," without meaning to. Lauren stepped inside first, but it wasn't my daughter, not the bright, laughing girl who used to twirl in the kitchen with her mother, humming off-key and giggling. This was someone exhausted to the bone, her hair pulled back too tight, her shoulders stiff, her eyes scanning every corner like she expected someone to jump out of the shadows. "Oh, my poor girl, what happened to you?" Then Nathan entered behind her. Regulate, and I swear, I barely recognized him either. Gaunt, unshaven, eyes sunk so deep he looked carved from stone. He held something heavy wrapped in a blue tarp, long and cylindrical, about 4 feet. For a moment the fear made me choke. They didn't speak, civilized, not a single word. Just exchanged those sharp, nervous glances, the kind people use when they've rehearsed what to do if everything goes wrong. Lauren rushed to the window, fingers clutching the curtains. She checked the driveway once, twice, her breathing visibly fast. Nathan kneeled on the floor, the tarp bundle beside him. He grabbed a utility knife and moved to the newly installed wallpaper. When he pressed the blade to the wall, my whole body tensed. With slow, practiced movements, he sliced through Dorothy's roses. Ha ha ha. She would have swatted him with a broom if she saw that, God bless her. He peeled the wallpaper back, exposing bare plaster, then cut deeper, carving a perfect square hole about 2 feet wide. Dust drifted like smoke on the camera feed. Blindness the wall was a dark cavity between the studs. He looked at Lauren for a moment, eyes wide, almost pleading. Stabilize. Only pressed her back to the window, watching the driveway like her life depended on it. Then Nathan lifted the tarp bundle. Thinking, he struggled. Its weight surprised him. His arms trembled, his jaw clenched. Once he nearly dropped it, and his face twisted with panic. But finally he angled it, pushed it toward the opening, and the bundle slid into the darkness behind the wall, disappearing completely. My heart slammed against my ribs. What was it? Why hide it here? Why involve my daughter? Why risk everything? Over the next 3 days, the footage showed Nathan returning again and again, each time alone, each time carrying supplies. Plaster, joint compound, impartial sanding tools, rolls of wallpaper. He worked in silence, repairing the wall so perfectly it looked untouched. By the end, you could not tell anything had ever been disturbed. He was meticulous, terrifyingly meticulous. Lauren only appeared twice more in the following weeks. Both times she pressed her ear to that same wall, listening, like she feared something might still be moving inside. The most recent footage was from 5 days ago. Lauren, alone, standing in front of the wall, her shoulders trembling. Then she placed her hand against the roses Dorothy once chose so lovingly, and broke down. Coastline, not soft crying, not a few tears. Aw, my baby. She sobbed like someone holding the weight of the world. I closed the app, hands shaking. Money? Apprehums? Something stolen? It didn't match their fear, their silence, forging. Whatever they hid was not about crime. It was about survival. Call back. I answered with a voice that barely felt like mine. Hi, sweetheart. Her tone was too bright, too rehearsed. Oh, hey, Dad. Sorry, I was in a meeting, haha. Everything okay? No laughter behind the ha-ha. Just fear disguised as casualness. I'm at the cabin, I told her. Someone's been staying here. A pause. Long. Unjust. "Oh, yeah, Nathan and I check on it sometimes." "The wallpaper's been replaced," I said. Another pause. This one cut straight through me. "Dad, you're remembering wrong. That wallpaper's been there forever." My throat tightened. "Lauren, I saw the cameras." Her breath hitched so sharply it crackled through the phone. Then, "Dad, please, don't ask questions. Don't look at anything. Don't—" A man's voice in the background, panicked. "Lauren, now!" She whispered, broken. "I have to go. Dad, please forget you saw anything. Please." The line went dead. I stared at my phone like it had betrayed me. My daughter lied to me and begged me not to uncover the truth. This wasn't about trespassing or using the cabin secretly or embarrassment. This was fear, bone-deep fear, the kind only real danger creates. I walked to the living room wall, the one hiding that terrible secret, and laid my hand against it. Dorothy's roses stared back at me sweetly, unaware of the truth beneath. A soft ache tore through my chest. Whatever my daughter was caught in, whatever she was running from, I couldn't leave her to face it alone. I grabbed the crowbar from my car, the same one Dorothy insisted I always keep on hand. "You never know when life asks you to pry something open," she used to say with a grin. "Ha ha ha, you were right again, Dorothy," I murmured. I returned to the wall, my heart pounding in my throat. The first crack of plaster felt like splitting open a memory. The wallpaper peeled away with a soft ripping sound, exposing fresh patchwork underneath. Someone had taken their time fixing this. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. My pulse hammered in my ears as I slid the crowbar in deeper, prying the plaster apart. One good hit. Breastfeeding. Another. Crunch. Dust puffed outward, settling on my shoes like gray snow. Behind the broken plaster was the hollow darkness I'd seen on the camera feed. A narrow cavity between the studs, like a mouth waiting to reveal a secret. I reached inside. My fingers brushed something cold, smooth, wrapped tight. Ah, my breath trembled. This wasn't just a little secret. It was heavy. It was intentional. It was dangerous. With a grunt, I pulled the bundle out. The plastic crinkled, the tarp slid, and when it hit the floor with a dull thud, it felt like the room exhaled. I kneeled beside it, my hands shaking uncontrollably. After all these years, after losing Dorothy, after watching my daughter drift away, now I was unwrapping something that felt like it would change everything again. "Ha!" A nervous laugh escaped me. "What have you gotten yourself into, Jimmy?" The blue tarp unwound, then the second layer of plastic, then another. Silenced was a waterproof, airtight container, military grade, the kind built to protect something worth protecting. My stomach dropped. A trembling ache crept into my chest. Whatever this was, it wasn't meant for me, but it had become my problem. I popped the seal. A soft hiss escaped like the container was exhaling after holding its breath for months. Inside were a tablet wrapped carefully, shields, several USB drives, in large, stacks of original documents, checkout, a small handwritten note in shaky script. I recognized the handwriting instantly. Nathan. The note read, "Insurance. Do not destroy. Lives depend on this." Oh, my entire body went cold. I powered on the tablet. It came alive instantly, fully charged, almost like it was waiting for someone to find it. Only one folder appeared on the home screen, suppressing, Garrett Holdings, evidence. The moment I opened it, my heart just stopped. Emails, financially transfers, bribery contracts, kickback spreadsheets, environmental violations with forged reports, payments tied directly to a billionaire developer, Raymond Garrett, a man who'd stood on national television just months ago boasting that every accusation against him was a politically motivated witch hunt. Ha ha ha. Oh God, the irony made my voice crack. Nathan must have been collecting this for months, maybe years. I whispered, "Lauren, what the hell did you marry into?" My phone buzzed violently in my hand. Lauren. Her voice came through trembling. "Dad, please tell me you didn't open it." I swallowed hard. I did. A soft cry leaked through the phone like she was trying not to sob. "Dad, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have." "Lauren," I said, gentler, "I saw everything. This isn't something to hide." "You don't understand," she gasped. "They're looking for it. They know Nathan took it." "Who's they?" I heard a man's voice behind her, urgent, frantic. "Nathan, stop!" The call crackled. "Dad," she whispered, "whatever you do, don't trust anyone. Don't open the door. Don't—" Barred bang echoed through my cabin. I froze. "Lauren?" I whispered, but she was gone. The line went dead. My breath hitched. I turned slowly toward the window. A black SUV had pulled into my driveway. Two men stepped out, dark suits, blank expressions, eyes like steel. One of them lifted a phone to his ear. The other scanned the house, slow and methodical. My pulse hammered. My hands went clammy. A knock rattled the front door, firm, confident, patient. Then a voice, smooth like someone who'd learned to sound calm while delivering threats. "Mr. Coleman, we know you're inside. We just want to talk." Ha ha ha. The sound that escaped me barely counted as laughter. It was fear cracking at the edges. I backed away from the door, clutching the container to my chest like a life jacket. "Mr. Coleman," the voice continued, "open the door now. Let's not make this difficult." Another knock, harder, more insistent. My instinct, the old one from Vietnam, the one that had slept for decades, snapped awake. Do not stay where the danger is. I grabbed the container, rushed down the basement stairs. My knees screamed in protest, but adrenaline drowned everything out. Upstairs, the door splintered. Bang! Footsteps, heavy, fast. "Mr. Coleman." The voice echoed through the floorboards. "Don't run. We can settle this politely." Ha! Polite wasn't what they came for. The basement bulkhead door above me groaned when I shoved it. Moisture had swollen the wood, turning it stubborn and stiff. I rammed my shoulder into it once. Nothing. Twice, pain shot through me. 3 times, the hinges screeched open. Cool air slapped my face. I clutched the evidence and ran, actually ran, across the yard toward the tree line. Branches whipped against my jacket. My legs screamed. My lungs burned. Blinds came shouts, then footsteps, then the sound of men giving chase. I hadn't run like that in 30 years. The wood swallowed me, but so did the danger. Somewhere behind the trees, one of the men yelled, "He's got it! Don't lose him!" And suddenly, it wasn't just about evidence anymore. It was about staying alive. Branches clawed at my arms as I tore through the trees, the cold evening air clawing at my lungs. Every breath felt like a knife. I was too old for this. God knows I was too old, but adrenaline sometimes forgets your age. It just demands you survive. Behind me, the men crashed through the underbrush, shouting orders. He went this way. Don't lose him. Get the container. Their voices ricocheted through the woods like bullets. I veered downhill toward the creek. Dorothy used to laugh at the way I couldn't remember where she left her glasses, yet somehow I remembered every trail, every tree, every bend of this land. Her voice whispered through my memory. Jimmy, the creek always hides your footsteps. Ah, Dorothy. Even gone, she kept saving me. The water soaked my shoes as I splashed through, the cold biting into my ankles. I pressed on, climbing the opposite bank, using tree roots to pull myself up. My arms shook. My back screamed. My heart hammered like it wanted to break free of my chest. Mr. Coleman! Responsible now. Stop running, we don't want to hurt you. Ha ha ha. That thin, fake calmness made my skin crawl. I staggered forward, pushing through branches, my body trembling with exhaustion. Then, through the trees, I saw headlights, bright, steady, unmoving. A car. A police cruiser. I stumbled out of the woods and into the open, nearly collapsing onto the gravel road. The officer stepped out, hand hovering near his holster. Sir, are you James Coleman? We got a 911 call about a break-in. Yes, I gasped, clutching the container. 2 men, inside, armed, chasing me. The officer's radio crackled. He spoke into it quickly. Within minutes, more cruisers appeared, lights flashing blue and red across the driveway. Officers spread out, weapons drawn, flashlights slicing through the woods. But by the time they searched the forest, there was nothing. No men, no SUV, anchored, none evidence. In the wall I'd torn open. One officer, Harris, stood in my living room, arms crossed. He looked from the ruined wall to the container at my feet and back at me. Sir, want to explain why you tore into your own wall? My family papers, I said, voice unsteady. I forgot where they were. He raised an eyebrow. Family papers? Important enough for 2 armed men to break in? My phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. Dognition, don't trust anyone. Garrett has people everywhere. Don't talk. Don't show anything. Misinformation. Young, sharp, eager, and realized I truly didn't know who to trust. I need to call my nephew, I said. He's a federal prosecutor. Harris hesitated, then nodded. Go ahead. My hands shook as I dialed. Prosecute answered immediately. Uncle Jimmy, what's wrong? I found something, I said. Documents, evidence, something big. What kind of evidence? Financial, crimes, tied to Garrett Holdings. Patrick swore under his breath. Uncle Jimmy, listen carefully. Do not give that to local police. Don't sign anything. Don't answer questions. Garrett has connections everywhere. I'm calling the FBI Reno field office now. He paused, voice turning deadly serious. Sit tight, and don't let anyone take that container from you. 3 hours later, black SUVs rolled silently into the driveway. 6 federal agents stepped out, led by a woman with sharp, steady eyes. Mr. Coleman, she said, flashing her credentials. I'm Special Agent Michelle Torres. You're coming with us, and so is the evidence. They escorted me to a hotel conference room in Reno, securing the building like I was a witness in a mafia trial. Torres sat across from me, her gaze razor-sharp yet oddly comforting. We've been investigating Garrett for over 2 years, she said. Your son-in-law collected more than we ever managed to find. She opened her laptop and turned it toward me. But instead of relief, my world cracked. Emails from Nathan to a man named Jay Bradford. Subject: Payment terms for evidence package, $425,000. Another email, deposit received. Then a ledger showing a $60,000 payment from an offshore account. I blinked, confused. He sold it. He was trying to sell the evidence? Torres nodded grimly. And not just to one side. Garrett's rival, Cameron Drake, was bidding. Garrett himself made an offer too. Nathan was playing both. Polishing. My stomach twisted. No, Lauren wouldn't be part of this. Torres clicked another file. Bank statement. Offshore account. Opened 3 months ago. Under my name. My social security number. My driver's license. Balance. $285,000. I felt the room tilt. I didn't open that account, I whispered. Torres leaned forward. Pledged. We know. Someone stole your identity to make you look complicit. She clicked again. A $28,000 withdrawal. Transferred. To an account in Lauren's name. My heart shattered. Lauren. Torres's voice softened. She may not have known. She may have believed it was a loan from Nathan. People under pressure stop asking questions they don't want answers to. Another agent rushed into the room, whispering urgently in Torres's ear, her face drained of color. Mr. Coleman, the lawyer who claims to represent you just arrived. What lawyer? A very expensive one, connected to Garrett. A chill shot down my spine. Torres stood abruptly. Do not speak to him. Do not sign anything. He isn't here to help you. He's here to silence you. I barely had time to breathe before my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Coleman, this is Cameron Drake. Your son-in-law broke his deal. Meet me behind the hotel in 1 hour, alone, or your daughter pays the price. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Before I could think, Torres answered another call from her team. Flooring, her face turned stone hard. Sentenced. Nathan has just escaped custody. Escaped? I gasped. Or someone staged it. Either way, everyone connected to this evidence is now in danger. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Minutes. Come alone. Bring the evidence. I stared at the screen, my heart breaking inside my chest. Lauren, my daughter, my only child. Her fate now hung on decisions I never wanted to make, and suddenly I realized something chilling. I wasn't just holding evidence. I was holding the key to whether my family lived or died. Agent Torres paced the hotel hallway like a woman standing on a fault line, waiting for the earth to crack open. The air felt thick, tense, charged. Every instinct in my body screamed that the walls were closing in. Nathan missing, Garrett's men hunting me, a rival billionaire demanding a meeting, and Lauren caught somewhere in the middle of all of it. This wasn't a story anymore. It wasn't evidence. It wasn't even survival. It was my daughter's life. I swallowed hard and forced my voice steady. Agent Torres, I need to use the restroom. She glanced at the nearby agents, then nodded. Wallace, escort him. Do not let him out of your sight. Wallace, a tall agent with shoulders like a linebacker, led me down the hallway. The moment he closed the restroom door behind me, his radio erupted with chatter, panicked, frantic voices. A distraction, something big. I locked the stall. My heart pounded so loudly it sounded like footsteps. I climbed onto the toilet seat, gripped the tiny window ledge, and hauled myself upward with a grunt that tore through my ribs. My shoulders screamed in protest. My hip cracked loudly. Ah! But adrenaline drowned out the pain. Outside was an 8-foot drop. Scrubbed myself and jumped. I hit the ground hard, rolling onto my back, the wind knocked out of me. For a moment, the sky spun above me. I whispered to Dorothy, trembling, "You'd be yelling at me right now, huh? Telling me I'm too old for this." But I got up. I had to. In the shadows of the back parking lot, a silver sedan idled. Its headlights flickered twice. A signal. I moved toward it, gripping the waterproof evidence container so tight my knuckles ached. The window slid down as I approached. A man with steel-gray hair and a smile as sharp as a blade looked at me. "Mr. Coleman," he said smoothly, "I'm glad you came. Get in, quickly." Chapter hand hovered over the door. "Flooring, where's my daughter?" "You help me," he said, "and she walks free." Anger bubbled into my throat. "You're Drake." He gave a small, humorless laugh. "Flooring, I wondered when you'd figure that out." Against every instinct screaming in my bones, I got into the car. We sped off through back streets and service alleys like ghosts slipping between cracks. Drake spoke first. "Your son-in-law contacted me months ago, offered the entire evidence package. He wanted $425,000. So you paid him?" "A deposit," Drake said with a shrug. "$60,000. I felt sick. Nathan planned to sell Garrett's crimes, not expose them. "Oh, he was shopping them around," Drake said. "To me, to Garrett, to anyone who would pay. A greedy little fool." His lip curled. He thought he could play both sides, but Garrett offered him more. And when Nathan tried to double-cross both of us, Drake chuckled darkly. "Well, here we are." He turned onto a suburban road, Lauren's neighborhood. "Where are we going?" I demanded. "To retrieve the third copy." Shock slammed into me. "Third?" "Nathan made 3 full sets. You found one in your cabin. There's another in a safe deposit box, and one more hidden in his house." He parked 2 streets away. "You're going in," he said matter-of-factly. "Retrieve the box, bring it to me, and in return, I'll make sure your daughter isn't implicated." "And if I refuse?" He gave a soft laugh. "Then her life becomes very, very difficult." A cold dread seeped into my bones. I walked toward Lauren's house, each step heavier than the last. Inside, the silence was suffocating. Her home felt hollow, like fear had scraped its walls clean. I found the basement door, descended into darkness. The flashlight on my phone cut a narrow path of light across the floor. Old toys, boxes, dust. I reached the utility closet. Behind the water heater, I spotted a panel, the screws painted over just like Drake described. My fingers trembled as I removed them, one by one, screeching softly with each turn. Behind the panel sat another waterproof container, identical to the one from my cabin. The moment I pulled it free, footsteps thundered upstairs. "Federal agents, Mr. Coleman, we know you're here." Panic surged through me. I bolted up the stairs, raced through the kitchen, shoved the back door open. Drake's sedan screeched into the alleyway, door open. "Get in," he hissed. I jumped inside. Flooring cut across the driveway behind me as agents shouted, but Drake peeled away with a screech of tires. "Did you get it?" he demanded. Wordlessly, I lifted the container. He nodded. "Open it." I hesitated. "First, I want the recordings, the ones clearing Lauren." His smile cracked at the edges. "Mr. Coleman," he said softly, "there are no recordings." My blood went cold. "You lied," I whispered. "Yes," he said simply. "I did." Before I could react, he reached inside his jacket, and I saw the gleam of a gun. "Killing it over, old man," he snarled. "Now, and maybe you walk away." I felt something shift inside me, not fear, Not panic. Something calmer, colder. "I don't think so," I said quietly. Drake blinked. "Excuse me?" I forced a trembling smile. "You know what I learned today, Mr. Drake? The FBI has my phone. They had it for hours. They saw every message you sent me." His face twitched. "And when I escaped the hotel," I chuckled weakly. "Ah, they let me. They wanted me to lead them to you." Drake's eyes widened. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" His hands tightened on the gun, and then the night exploded. Doors ripped open. Flashlights blinded us. Voices roared. "FBI, hands up! Drop the weapon! Do not move!" Drake was yanked from the driver's seat, slammed to the pavement before he could blink. His gun skittered across the asphalt. Agent Torres appeared at my door, breathless, furious, relieved all at once. "Jimmy," she said, helping me out, "you did exactly what we needed." "Huh, you used me as bait," I muttered, shaking. She nodded. "Yes, but we protected you. I didn't have the strength to argue. All I cared about, the only thing." "Where's Lauren?" My voice cracked. Torres placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "She's safe," she said softly. "And now we can prove she wasn't part of this." Aw. My knees nearly buckled from relief. Torres escorted me to another SUV, guiding me into the passenger seat. "You've been through hell," she murmured. "But tonight we stopped a monster." And for the first time since I pried open that wall, I let myself breathe. The hours after Drake's arrest passed in a blur. Federal agents buzzing like hornets, papers shuffled, questions fired at me from every angle. But all I cared about, all I begged God for, was one thing. "Where's Lauren?" I asked the moment I caught Torres alone. She sighed softly and guided me into a quiet conference room. And there she was, my daughter. She stood when she saw me, eyes red, hands trembling. The moment our eyes met, the weight she had been carrying, for months, maybe years, shattered. She ran into my arms with a sob so broken it made my knees go weak. "Oh, sweetheart," I whispered, holding her tight. "I'm here. I'm right here." Her tears soaked my shirt as she choked. "Dad, I'm sorry. I should have told you everything. I was scared. I didn't know who to trust. I thought they'd hurt you if I said anything. I've been terrified every day." I cupped her face in my hands, brushing back her hair like I used to when she was a child. "You're safe now," I murmured, my voice breaking. "It's over. I've got you." We cried in each other's arms until our bodies simply ran out of tears. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind, evidence categorized, witnesses interviewed, Nathan found alive in protective custody. The trial preparation felt like watching a storm build on the horizon. Torres met with us almost daily, going through every detail, every file, every piece of the truth. Lauren's name was cleared, fully. She had been a manipulated pawn, a terrified mother holding on to a crumbling marriage because she didn't know how to escape. Nathan. His part in all this tore me apart. He wasn't evil, just weak, desperate, and terrified of the consequences closing in around him. When I finally saw him, escorted by deputies into a federal courtroom, he didn't lift his head. His shoulders hunched, his hands shook, and for the first time since I met him, he looked genuinely ashamed. He took the stand on day 4. His voice cracked as he confessed everything. The bribery he uncovered at Garrett Holdings, the pressure from supervisors, his initial intention to help expose the crimes, Cambridge, his temptation by both Garrett and Drake's offers, how he panicked when threats appeared, how he hid how he felt trapped between two monsters. And then he spoke about Lauren. Voice trembling. She didn't know. I lied to her. I dragged her into danger she never asked for. She begged me to go to the authorities, but I was too scared. I ruined everything, and I'm sorry. He broke down on the stand. The courtroom fell silent. Even Torres, who'd seen the worst kinds of criminals, exhaled slowly, her expression softening. Lauren testified next. My strong little girl, my beautiful, exhausted, heartbroken daughter. She told the court about Nathan's strange behavior, the lies, the disappearing money, the fear, about the night he finally admitted the truth, too late for them to escape safely. Her voice wavered, but she didn't cry until she looked right at me in the audience. Then her breath hitched, and she whispered, "My father saved my life. He saved all of us." Aw. My chest cracked open right there. I had to bow my head to hide the tears. The trial lasted 6 exhausting weeks. Flashlight, fraud, bribery, environmental crimes, flaming, arson, witness tampering, conspicuous. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Windshield, the courtroom held its breath. Wallpaper stood. On the charge of racketeering, guilty. On the charge of bribery, guilty. On the charge of obstruction, guilty. One count after another, guilty. All 43. Lauren squeezed my hand so hard it hurt, whispering through tears, "Dad, it's over. It's finally over." And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I believed her. Life didn't magically become perfect after the trial. Healing rarely looks like magic. Nathan accepted a plea deal in exchange for full cooperation. He'll serve time, but he'll live. He'll see his children grow up, and somehow, despite everything, Lauren still visits him with the kids. Not out of romance, out of compassion, out of closure. She told me, "Dad, forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's letting go of the weight so I can breathe again." I hugged her tight. She felt lighter than she had in years. 3 months later, winter descended on Tahoe. Snow drifted across the lake, soft and quiet, like the world was finally giving me a moment to rest. I stood in the cabin living room staring at the repaired wall, the one that had once hidden fear, secrets, danger. Now the wallpaper was perfect again. The roses Dorothy chose seemed brighter, almost smiling. I whispered, "You were right, sweetheart. People really do act differently when they think no one's watching." I could almost hear her soft laugh in reply. That weekend, Lauren brought my grandchildren to stay with me. We roasted marshmallows by the fire. We hiked the trails Dorothy loved. We laughed, real laughter, the kind that fills up the empty spaces in a home. The last night of their visit, after the kids fell asleep, Lauren and I sat on the porch wrapped in blankets. The stars sparkled over the lake like God had sprinkled diamonds across the sky. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I kissed her forehead, my voice breaking. I never could. Laid on the porch, I let the quiet sink into my bones. 67 years of life behind me, a heart scarred, a body aching, but inside something felt repaired, like the wall of my own spirit had been rebuilt stronger than before. In the reflection of the cabin window, I saw an old man, yes, but also a survivor, confiscated, a protector, a father who walked through hell not with strength, but with wisdom. Dorothy used to say age was a gift. I never understood until now. Age isn't weakness, it's knowledge, it's patience, It's knowing how to see the truth when everyone else is blinded by lies. It's knowing when to fight and when to forgive. This story, my true story, taught me something I want everyone who listens to remember. Don't wait until it's too late to ask what's wrong with the people you love. Sometimes silence is a scream no one hears. Sometimes distance is a plea for help, unchecked. And sometimes the people who seem the strongest are the ones drowning quietly. Trust those you love, flaming closely when their voice trembles. And above all, net backs an old man with patience, a good memory, and someone worth fighting for. If my story touched you, leave a comment, share your thoughts. Tell me what part hit your heart the hardest. Your voice might help someone recognize danger or save someone they love. This is my story, and I'm grateful you listened.